Welcome. I'm Margie Graff, President and CEO of the Rockville Chamber of Commerce. I'm thrilled and delighted that we can bring you our virtual presentation of the 31st Annual Rockville Public Safety Awards. The Rockville Public Safety Awards is held in cooperation with the City of Rockville and the Rockville Chamber of Commerce to honor members of the Rockville City Police Department, Montgomery County Sheriff's Office, Montgomery County Department of Correction and Rehabilitation, and the Rockville Volunteer Fire Department, as well as civilians who have contributed to the safety of our community. The program is sponsored by these community service clubs of Rockville, the Rockville Kiwanis Club and the Rockville Rotary Club. And we would like to thank our corporate sponsors, Pepco, Westat, Mars Studio, and Comfort Care. I would now like to turn the program over to Judy Cruz, media consultant and executive editor of the Greater Olney News.
Welcome again to the 31st Annual Rockville Public Safety Awards. We are happy to have the commanders of all 4 public safety organizations with us today, and they will be presenting the awards to the recipients. We also have guests with us, and we thank all of you for being here. With us today is Sheriff Darren Hopkin, Chief Victor Brito from the Rockville City Police Department, and Deputy Chief Laura Lanham. We have Chief Jim Vagonis and President Eric Bernard from the Rockville Volunteer Fire Department, and we have Director Angela Talley from the Montgomery County Department of Correction and Rehabilitation. Now I would like to welcome Sheriff Popkin and Chief Deputy Sheriff Max Wee, who will present the awards to the Sheriff's Office.
Good morning, everybody. On behalf of the 200 incredibly hardworking women and men of the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office, we want to thank the Rockville Chamber of Commerce and the City of Rockville for coordinating this award ceremony this morning in the middle of the pandemic. We never want to miss an opportunity to award our incredibly hardworking and people that show this valor that our Deputy Kendall performed in this particular manner. You're going to be hearing some amazing stories this morning, and these are the stories that these firefighters, correctional officers, deputy sheriffs, and police officers face every single day. We want to welcome Sue Kendall, who is the Deputy Kendall's wife. We want to welcome her this morning as well as we recognize his incredible award. You will hear Chief Wee mention in a few minutes the exact story that Deputy Kendall performed on this particular day. But as I always do, I want to mention that if it wasn't for him and the incredible work that he put forward on this day while he was off duty originally, the person who was experiencing a mental health breakdown may not be with us today. He actually went out of his way not only to make phone calls but respond to the scene of the event. He was used as the negotiator as well to get the gentleman out of the house who was experiencing this mental health issue. So on behalf of the Sheriff's Office, I want to congratulate Deputy Kendall on his amazing valor that he performed on this, and Chief Wee is going to read the entire incident, and if I could bring Deputy Kendall up to the podium.
For the first incident, I'll be reading for Deputy Sheriff Christopher Kendall. After that, I'll also be reading a citation narrative for Deputy Sheriff Perez, who was not able to be here. For Deputy Sheriff Christopher Kendall, on the evening of Sunday, June 23, 2019, Deputy Sheriff 3, Christopher Kendall, received a voicemail on his personal phone while en route to the Sheriff's Office for his scheduled shift in the domestic violence section. The message was from a family friend who told him there was a number of men wearing camouflage clothing in his backyard. Deputy Kendall contacted the friend, who reiterated that there were men in his backyard clad in camouflage clothing, in addition to making rambling statements. Initially, Deputy Kendall urged the friend to contact on-duty law enforcement if he was concerned for his safety. However, the friend continued to state that he had previously notified the police about his concerns and was worried he would be taken away. During the conversation, Deputy Kendall could hear another person in the background. who got on the phone and said there were no people in the backyard, as described by the friend, but rather another neighbor in an adjacent property who was picking up yard debris. At the conclusion of the conversation, Deputy Kendall contacted the subject's daughter, who stated her father's mental health had significantly deteriorated over the last couple weeks, and he was experiencing delusions. Deputy Kendall explained the process to file an emergency evaluation petition if she felt that he was suffering from a mental illness and was in a danger to himself or others. After arriving for his shift at the sheriff's office, Deputy Kendall was informed that the daughter and her husband had gone to check on her father and that he was armed with a pistol, and she was concerned for his welfare. The deputy immediately notified the Emergency Communications Center and directed the daughter and her husband to leave the house and wait for responding police units. Deputy Kendall, along with other deputies, quickly responded to the man's residence. Upon arrival, he met with the Montgomery County Police Department officers that had been dispatched to the scene and gave them background information. Deputy Kendall made contact with his friend in crisis via telephone and convinced him to leave all firearms inside and to exit the residence, which he did without incident. He then convinced his friend to turn over his firearms, which included 3 handguns and 1 .22 caliber rifle along with 1 pellet rifle. The man was transported to the hospital for an emergency evaluation petition. If not for the decisive and quick actions by Deputy Christopher Kendall, along with the deputies and other officers involved, this situation could have ended in tragedy. We're pleased to present Deputy Sheriff Kendall with the Meritorious Service Citation. The second citation awarded on behalf of the Sheriff's Office will be awarded to Karen Perez. Unfortunately, Deputy Perez is unable to attend. However, she'll be presented this certificate at a later date. In September of 2019, Deputy Sheriff 2 Karen Perez was temporarily assigned from the Court and Transportation Section to assist the Sheriff's Office School Resource Officer, SRO, at a Montgomery County high school. The assignment was based on information provided to the Sheriff's Office regarding a threat on a female student at the high school. The student had alleged that she had been assaulted by several members of a gang and was scheduled to testify in court. In response to the threat, the Montgomery County Police mobilized several units, including the gang unit and repeat offender unit. The primary SRO, Deputy Jason Capetta, was tasked with working with those units and implementing a plan to keep the victim safe while she attended school. The Sheriff's Office temporarily assigned Deputy Perez to assist at the high school. Deputy Perez, who speaks Spanish, was invaluable to this assignment. She was responsible for direct communication with the victim's mother and worked with the victim to ensure her safety over the course of several weeks. In addition, Deputy Perez mediated several conflicts in the school, ranging from social media posts to bullying incidents in which victims spoke only Spanish. Her presence at the school was critical during this period, as the primary SRO was injured and unable to perform the full duties of a deputy. Deputy Perez was able to ensure the needs of the students and the staff were met during this time. For the duration of the detail, Deputy Perez embraced the unique challenges involved within the assignment. She gained the trust of many people in the Latino community, built bridges with school administration, and worked in partnership with allied law enforcement agencies. The exemplary performance of Deputy Sheriff 2 Karen Perez during the temporary assignment reflects the high standards of the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. I am pleased to present her the Meritorious Service Citation for her efforts.
Good morning. I want to thank everybody, in particular the Rockville Chamber of Commerce, the City of Rockville, and all of our partners. This is a wonderful event as we honor the wonderful things that the men and women in all of our agencies do. In particular, today as we honor the Rockville City Police Department employees and sworn members. It's a wonderful event. Everything that we do each and every day, and the foundation of everything we do, is to protect our community and communicate effectively with them as we protect our community and as we serve our community. So thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to serve our, present our awards. The first award I'd like to bring up is a Distinguished Service Citation for Officer Ronnie Crow. Officer Crow, if you please come up. Thank you, Ronnie. Right there. On January 15th, 2020, Officer Ronnie Crow arrested a person on open warrants and transported him to the Central Processing Unit at the Montgomery County Detention Center. While at CPU and completing the paperwork, Officer Crow saw the subject in the holding cell was lying on his side with his head resting on the bench. That was a clue for Officer Crow as he began banging on the door of the cell and yelling to get his attention, but noticed that the subject was not breathing. Officer Crow alerted CPU staff to access the cell, and he checked for a pulse in his vitals. Finding no pulse, Officer Crow began CPR, called for assistance on the radio, and after a period of CPR, the subject regained his vitals and his pulse and began breathing again. Fire and rescue arrived and transported the subject to the hospital, where he recovered and was later released. Due to Officer Crow's quick actions, judgment, and diligence, the man's life was saved. Wonderful, selfless act by Officer Crow, protecting those that we serve and even those that we arrest. Thank you very much, Officer Crow. Wonderful action for your Distinguished Service Citation. Thank you. Our next Distinguished Service Citation is Officer Jeremy Zigler. If you'd please come up, Jeremy. On May 6, 2019, Officer Jeremy Zigler responded to a Rockville home for the report of a working code. Upon arrival, Officer Zigler saw the caller beginning to perform CPR and took over. After a period of CPR, the person regained consciousness but had a weak pulse. Officer Zigler learned that the subject was a heroin user and quickly administered a dose of Narcan that we recently issued to all of our police officers, which took effect and the subject became fully conscious. Fire and rescue arrived and transported the subject to the hospital. Due to Officer Zigler's awareness, quick action, and timely judgment, a life was saved. Thank you, Officer Zigler. Wonderful work. Our next Distinguished Service Citation is awarded to Officer Brandon Thomas. Unfortunately, he's unable to be here today, but I'd still like to read the exemplary work that contributed to this award. On December 12, 2019, Officer Brandon Thomas responded for a person not breathing at a fast food restaurant. Upon arrival, Officer Thomas determined that the patient had no pulse. Officer Thomas began CPR and continued CPR for approximately 7 minutes until fire and rescue arrived and took over. It was not for the quick action, judgment, Officer Thomas, the patient would likely not have survived. Thank you, Officer Thomas. Thank you very much. Our next award is the Meritorious Service Citation. Corporal John Lee, would you please come up? On July 24, 2019, Corporal Lee assisted with a search warrant in reference to a human trafficking investigation. Corporal Lee is a patrol officer, but he was requested an assignment for the specific assignment because of his Chinese language translation abilities. And without hesitation, he agreed to assist. In many of such cases, human trafficking victims are in fear and do not trust authority or the services that the government provides or is offering to assist. It is rare that victims agree to use and provided the services of translation that we provide. Officer Lee provided translation while interviewing 6 victims. 2 of them elected to get help and utilize our services that we provided through the city and through the county government. It was a direct result of Corporal Lee building a rapport with the victims and helping them understand that police were there to help them, and without his abilities and without these abilities and his caring and compassion, Corporal Lee, the victims will not have the desire or the ability to get help so that they desperately needed. It was a wonderful act of compassion and communication. Thank you very much, Corporal Lee. Congratulations. Our next award and our last award, but certainly not the least award. Mr. Jason Ning from the Police Information Technology Section. Would you please come up? Jason is like family to the Rockville City Police Department. He works tirelessly each and every day, off hours, weekends, to help assist us in all of our IT needs. And believe me, with an agency of approximately 100 people and a very vibrant community, our IT needs are great. Jason handles all the IT support for the Rockville City Police Department, and I mean every bit of it. He is directly involved with managing the body-worn camera system, police computers, and every aspect of IT technology and support for the Rockville City Police Department. The community may find it hard to believe that the police department is not too IT savvy. You know, we have some ways to go there. Luckily, Rockville and the city of Rockville and the police department has Jason, who makes himself available day and night and always resolves the issues quickly and to the satisfaction of all of our members. Jason Ning's efforts and his dedication are commendable, and he regularly goes above and beyond to ensure that the city police department's IT needs are met each and every day. Without his work, which often goes unnoticed, the police department would be struggling through many of these issues and have a hard time delivering the quality services that we do each and every day. With that, I'd like to present the Meritorious Service Citation to Jason Ning. Thank you. As I said at the beginning, our members work tirelessly day in, day out to provide dedicated, compassionate police services to all of our community members. We have a great police department, and we will continue to do those things that put us above and beyond in our community and in our policing endeavors. Thank you very much for your time today, and please be safe and healthy.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'd also like to take a minute to thank the Rockville Chamber and the committee of individuals that put this event together for us. It's an incredible opportunity for me to recognize some of the members of the Rockville Volunteer Fire Department today. There are so many that do so much for the department. It's very difficult sometimes to recognize just a few. I have a few here we're going to recognize for a couple different events that took place back in 2019. Thank you, family, for being here, friends for being here to support them. At this time, I'm going to introduce Captain Paramedic Ray Whalen. He's going to present our awards to our individuals. Thank you.
Good morning. For our first award, I'd like to have Arash Kamali, Christopher Halleck, and Lucas Bastien come forward. The life of a volunteer at the Rockville Volunteer Fire Department is both rewarding and demanding. All riding volunteers have a minimum standby or on-duty requirement of 600 hours per year in addition to extensive training. In 2019, RVFD volunteers provided area residents with over 111,000 hours of staffing. It is not unusual for some volunteers to go beyond the minimum and give over 1,000 hours per year. And as admirable as that is, there are some that go well beyond the call of duty when serving their community. The following RVFD personnel had the most standby hours in 2019. Firefighter Rescuer 2 Arash Kamali, 3,207 hours. Master Firefighter Christopher Halleck, 3,364 hours. And Master Firefighter Lucas Bastian, 3,899 hours. They are awarded the Meritorious Service Citation for their efforts to serve the community well beyond what is expected of them. Our next award is a unit citation, and I'd like to call forward whoever is here. Lieutenant Robert Cousins, EMS Provider 2, Allison Griner, Paramedic Intern Razan Humeda from the Wheaton Volunteer Rescue Squad, Master Firefighter Lucas Bastian, EMS Provider 2, Alexander Markinson, Master Attendant 2, Dylan Leonard, Master Firefighter Christopher Halleck, Firefighter Alan Pankoff, Firefighter 3 Mark Livingstone, Firefighter 2 Paramedic Joshua Cook from Montgomery County Fire and Rescue. On Monday, April 1st, 2019, units from the Rockville Volunteer Fire Department Station 3 were dispatched on a call for a person having difficulty breathing. The patient was a 21-year-old man suffering from kidney failure. He was found with agonal respirations, struggling to breathe, and subsequently went into cardiac arrest while fire and rescue personnel were on the scene. The Station 3 crews, both volunteer and career, successfully resuscitated the patient on the scene and transported him to Shady Grove Adventist Hospital for further treatment. Approximately 3 weeks later, the patient was discharged from the hospital and returned home. He is fully recovered. The quick and efficient actions of the personnel on that incident saved the man's life. For the collective efforts of the personnel, for the dedication to their training and their commitment to the residents of the community they serve, the members of the Rockville Volunteer Fire Department, Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Services, and the Wheaton Volunteer Rescue Squad are receiving a unit citation for distinguished service. Our final award is another unit citation. So all those who are present, please come forward. Lieutenant Alex Cedarbaum, Master Firefighter Brian Roidas, Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Services. Master Firefighter Jesse Kelleher, Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Services. Paramedic Johnny Singh. EMS Provider 2, Eric Damtoff. EMS Provider 2, Alex Jin. Firefighter 2, Christopher Price, Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Service. On Thursday, August 22nd, 2019, while returning to Station 3, the crew of Rescue Squad 703 came across a Metro Transit police officer attempting to detain a person in the 900 block of Hungerford Drive. The crew saw that the lone officer was fighting with the person in the middle of the road. The crew also saw that the person was on top of the officer and had been able to remove the officer's taser and was attempting to stun the officer while simultaneously punching the officer in the head. Recognizing the peril the officer was in, the crew of Rescue Squad 703 stopped their unit to block traffic and, at great risk to themselves, removed the man from the officer without they or the officer being stunned by the weapon or without further injury to the officer. The crew then assisted the Metro Transit police officer, whose backup had still not arrived, to detain and handcuff the man. During the scuffle, the officer sustained several cuts and contusions above his left eye. The crew of Rescue Squad 703 requested an EMS transport unit and immediately treated not only the officer's injuries, but also the then detained man's injuries, who had also sustained injuries. Medic 703 arrived to further evaluate and treat the injuries. Ultimately, both the man and the officer were transported to the hospital for a more detailed evaluation of their injuries. If not for the collective efforts of the crew of Rescue Squad 703, the awareness they displayed, and the personal risks they took upon themselves, the outcome of the incident could have resulted in serious injury or death to the officer. The members of this crew are recognized for their bravery and professionalism with a unit citation for distinguished service.
And on behalf of the Rockville Volunteer Fire Department, we'd like to thank our partners with the Rockville Chamber, the the Rockville City Police Department, Corrections, our wonderful sheriff and staff for being partners in public safety. The women and men that you just saw receive awards from the Rockville Volunteer Fire Department work in combination with the Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Service. Volunteer and career professionals working side by side. The members of the Rockville Volunteer Fire Department receive no pay. They receive no compensation. They all have other jobs, functions, and lives outside of the fire department. You saw some members volunteering more, twice as much, than most people work in their full-time profession. That just shows the dedication we have here at the Rockville Volunteer Fire Department. And starting January 1st, 2021, the Rockville Volunteer Fire Department will start celebrating its centennial. 100 continuous years of volunteer service here in the city. Now, sadly, due to the pandemic, we have to postpone our celebrations to 2022. But nonetheless, it is 100 years of volunteer service. We thank all the women and men, volunteers, as well as our partners in the Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Service for working together to help save lives and property. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon. So happy to be here today to present this award. So since 2012, the Montgomery County Department of Correction and Rehabilitation has been providing officers and equipment to the city of Rockville in a program that diverts individuals from incarceration and uses the labor to reinvest into the community through service projects. The officers have taken on the responsibility, in addition to their roles as correctional officers, to supervise work crews of up to 15 people each. The work crews consist of people that would normally be incarcerated but have been diverted to the program in lieu of incarceration. They serve their sentences on the weekends doing projects that benefit the community. The program reduces the significant cost of incarceration with the added benefits of providing much needed labor to complete trash removal and landscaping chores. There's also the added benefit of having offenders participate in a positive reinvestment into their own community. The work crews have removed trash from areas along Rockville Pike, Neville Street, Seven Locks Road, and Old Georgetown Road. They have maintained the cleanliness of bus stops and removed significant amounts of graffiti. The crews have also been responsible for several landscaping chores, such as brush removal and lawn mowing. The crews were responsible for collecting 6,148 bags of trash and provided 7,751 man-hours of labor, but most importantly, diverted 968 offenders from incarceration. These are just the statistics from the past year of a 13-year program. The correctional officers supervising the work crews have been invaluable to the community and taken on a sense of pride in the work that the crews have been accomplished, for going above and beyond their normal scope of duties to provide a tangible service to the Rockville. The Meritorious Service Award goes to Corporal Normal Piles, Corporal Kiki Frazier, Corporal Jesse Rousey, Corporal Alexander Baker, and Private First Class Jonathan Portacario. Thank you so much.
I would like to say congratulations to all of our award winners and our Rockville City Police Department, Montgomery County Sheriff's Office, Montgomery County Department of Correction and Rehabilitation, and the Rockville Volunteer Fire Department for all they do throughout the years to keep us safe. And I would like to thank Judy Cruz, media consultant and executive editor of the Greater Olney News, and our Rockville Public Safety Committee for all the hard work to bring this to you every year. And I want to thank our sponsors again, Pepco, Westat, Mars Studio, and Comfort Care, as well as our community service clubs, Rockville Kiwanis Club and the Rockville Rotary Club. Thank you, and we'll see you next year.